Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing The Investigator, written by John Sandford. It is the first book by this author that I've read. I'm aware that he's got a long-running series with about 20 or so books in it that I haven't read, and I am interested in trying that series out. I grabbed this book because it's the first in a new series, and it was published in this year, 2022. So I thought, new book, sounds exciting, I have to read it. And I had it on hold at the library for quite some time, and I was just so eager to read it, and I kept waiting and waiting for my chance to grab this book. And when I grabbed it, I started it straight away. What did I think of it? I was very disappointed. This book just didn't live up to the image I had in my mind. I thought, an author with such a long-running series, with a new series, first book, I thought it would be so exciting, so engaging, they would love it. I didn't love it at all. I really didn't like this book at all. The book started off really interesting, and I thought, oh, hang on, this is going to be such a great book. The main character, Letty Davenport, she's in a really engaging scene, and it did hook me, I have to admit. This scene hooked me in, and it's the reason why I read the whole book. But it's the only exciting scene in the book. So if you're going to write a book that's meant to be thrilling, exciting and engaging, don't just put one exciting scene at the start and make the rest so dull and boring. That's what it felt like to me. At the start of the book, she's in this scene where she's breaking into a building to get some information on something, and when she does it, it's quite clever and quite interesting. I won't go into detail what she did or what it's for. So she's got a desk job and she works for a US senator. She does this, gives the boss the information, and then tells him she's going to quit. The job's too boring for her. He goes, oh, hang on, don't go yet. We have another job for you. We want you to do this for us. They basically give her a new role as a special investigator for the Department of Homeland Security. I thought this was a really, really odd twist in the book. Why take somebody who is in a desk job, has no skills really as an investigator, and throw her into DHS and put her on a case straight away? Partner up with somebody, and the guy she's partnered up with was ex-Delta forces. They've been sent off to Texas to investigate someone who's stealing oil from oil wells. And the reason they have to investigate that is because somebody thinks there's militia involved and they're not sure what's going on with the money that's being made off these oil. Are they going to use it to attack something? What are they using this money for, this militia? That's a big mystery in this book. So off they go to Texas. Now, you'd think that Letty, being her first time investigating something, she wouldn't be taking charge, but she does. She takes charge and her partner lets her. Everybody lets her. And that's another odd thing in this book. Why should she take charge in this investigation? She has no skills, she has no experience, but she's taking charge. And this guy has been with DHS for quite a long time. He's just following her every order. I just felt that was quite strange. I don't mind the fact that we have a really strong female character because I read a lot of books that do have that, but make sure the character fits the role in the story. If you're going to put her in charge, have her with experience. Don't have her going into a new investigation, her first investigation that could be dangerous, and she's dealing with militia in Texas, and they're in an area where they wouldn't have much support if something went wrong. Don't put her in charge in a situation like that, because it just didn't feel believable. It just felt really odd to me. While we're in Texas, everything just felt really repetitive and quite boring. There were descriptions of things we didn't need to know about. For example, they go to investigate something at a location, and a local police officer is going with them. Letty says she needs to go get a Coke and an ice cream. Then we have a scene, and it's quite a few paragraphs, around a page or so, all about them buying these ice creams and drinks and then eating them. Why do we need to know so much about that? And there's quite a few scenes like that. And the dialogue between the characters is really strange as well. It's just overly descriptive, very boring, and very repetitive. And you know those TV shows where the characters say the obvious just to drive the story along? That's what it felt like in this book. They're saying the obvious, and sometimes over and over again at different times. Everything was dull, and the scenery was dull. They're in Texas around the oil country, so it's not very exciting scenery anyway. But we get dull descriptions, we have characters that say dull things, we have repetitive descriptions, we have details we don't need to know about, we have characters that just come across as very one-dimensional a lot of the time as well. So it just makes up for a very dull book. Adding to that, we have the militia. And the militia are just not threatening feeling at all. So the leaders of the militia seem to be kind in some ways. And when the militia take over a town, that's what they do, take over a town at the border. They're there with their guns, they're shooting guns in the air in one scene, trying to be threatening. They're not threatening to the townspeople in the town. It's almost like they're scouts at a jamboree. I was waiting for them to, pull out marshmallows over an open fire and sing Kumbaya. That's what it felt like. It just felt like they were there for a good time, for a picnic. They were going to stay there and go home. There was just no threat in what they were doing. And then we had the main characters who are in this town as well. And they're just walking around in the town. Nobody stopping them, nobody questioning them. And they're able to investigate and do things in this town with all this militia around. It just didn't feel real. There was no threat. And I just felt it's so disappointing that by the end of it, you just didn't care about any character at all. You just wanted it all to end. That was my thoughts anyway. Everyone just pack up, go home, finish the book up, because everything was so unbelievable. Everything was just so boring. I didn't feel there was any threat or tension at all in this novel. I was just waiting for it to end. Letty Davenport, well, she started off as a good character. That first scene, I thought, this character's going to be amazing. I thought, another strong female character. I'm all up for this. I want this character to be great. From that scene, I just went a complete 180. She was dull. I didn't like the way the author had her dialogue in this novel. It was very overly descriptive and very boring, almost robotic-like. The author tried to give her some one-liners every now and then to make her feel a bit kick-ass character, right? So it didn't work. It just seemed to be trying too hard, and it just didn't gel with everything else about the character that we had in the novel, all the boring, dull, robotic parts about this character. I have read that the character has small parts in the other series that the author's written. I'm not sure how big those parts are. I'm not sure what she's like in that other series. I'd be interested to find out, has the author represented this character differently in this series where she's the main character? But in this novel, I didn't like the character at all. And by the end of the novel, I just didn't really care what happened to her. I didn't care if she survived or not. I just wanted it to be over. John Kaiser is the THS agent that teamed up with Letty in this book. He's meant to come across as someone who's got a lot of experience, ex-Delta Forces. You think he'd be a tough guy, but he wasn't. He was such a pushover, and I didn't believe the way that he let Letty take over the case in the investigation. It didn't feel real. You'd think there'd be a bit more resistance between them both. So I just felt like this character wasn't lifelike. There's something about it that just felt a bit one-dimensional and didn't feel real to me, like somebody with all that experience that he should have. There were a couple of moments where he, he's fighting with guns and things like that, but for most of the novel, he just feels like a bit bumbling in the investigation, and that just made me think the author didn't create this character as carefully as he should have. Jane Hawkes is the leader of the militia group in this novel. The author tried to create her as a threatening character, but it failed. It just came across as a bit one-dimensional, and the motives for her to be in the militia, the motives for her to do the things she's doing in this book, just didn't seem strong enough to me. And by the end of it, I just felt like this character was almost a waste of time, especially for most of the novel, or for the last third to half of the novel, where she comes across as just too nice for the character she's meant to be. She's meant to be a leader of a militia who wants to change things in the country, and so you'd think she should be a bit extreme in what she wants in her actions, but she's not. She's very placid in some things. That didn't seem right to me. It felt like the author was creating this character with kids' gloves, and it didn't gel with me and didn't seem believable. And this is another character where by the end I didn't care what happened to this character. I want this character just to vanish off into the sunset, and I didn't want to think about this character anymore. As you can tell, I didn't like this book. I was so looking forward to reading it. I was so excited to get a copy of it finally. But when I turned that last page, I was just so disappointed in the story. I thought it would be so much better than it was. I rate this a 1 out of 5. I will try the other series from the same author. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that it's so much better than this book. I review other thriller novels on my channel. Check out my channel and subscribe so you don't miss out on my new reviews. Also, check out the thriller playlist. It should be on your screen now.